Good evening, folks. Welcome to Town of Mount Pleasant Planning Board meeting, regularly scheduled for February 5th, 2026, 7:30 p.m. First up, we have, we'll talk about the business items a little later in the meeting, but we do have number one, proposed 790 Hardscrabble Road, subdivision 1 lot into 2 for the development of one-family dwelling. That has been adjourned for tonight. So if you are here for 790 Hardscrabble Road, that has been adjourned. Next up, Darius, did you?
Yeah. So, Darius Shefazada, Town Attorney. Good evening, everyone. So I understand there's been some comments about the development on Sleepy Hollow Road, 715. So I'm here. I understand there's some threats on both sides of the public about potential litigation. There's attorneys involved. So I'd like to have a quick executive session with the board just to address some issues. So if the board is so inclined to have a motion to enter into an executive session for the potential litigation related to 715 Sleepy Hollow Road.
Okay, do we have a motion?
I make that motion.
Motion from John,
I second it.
second from Steve. Walter?
Aye.
Jean?
Abstain.
John?
Aye.
Eileen?
Aye.
Judy?
Aye.
Steve?
Aye.
And I for me. Okay. So we are to move to, there's could be some room we're moving
Yeah, we
to.
can go into the conference room by you, Carol?
Kill the mic, sleep
Do I
on.
stay here? I think kill the mic.
7:53, we have concluded the executive session. We'd like to entertain a motion to say that we've concluded that executive session.
I'll make a motion that we've concluded the executive session.
Motion from JD,
Second it.
second from Steve. Walter?
Aye.
Jane?
Aye.
John?
Aye.
Eileen?
Aye.
JD?
Aye.
Steve?
Aye.
And an aye for me. Okay, so we're back on the regular scheduled program. First up, we have business items. Those are items that we've reviewed in the past, and they've had either the staff or consultant do different things, like make minutes or resolutions. So first up is minutes from the January 7th, 2026 Planning Board meeting. Any questions or comments on those minutes?
Make the motion to approve those minutes?
Motion from John,
Second?
second from Jean. Walter?
Aye.
Jean?
Aye.
John? Eileen?
Aye.
JD?
Aye.
Steve?
Aye.
And an aye for me. Okay, next up is the adoption of resolution of approval for the legalization of an existing accessory apartment on first floor of residence at 174 Arthur Avenue, R10 zone, Steve Thomas Herzberg. That's a resolution that we have reviewed, the consultant has drafted, we have reviewed, and we now need to make a decision on that resolution.
I make a motion that we adopt that resolution.
Motion from Eileen,
I second it.
second from Steve. Walter?
Aye.
Jane?
Aye.
John?
Aye.
Eileen?
Aye.
JD?
Aye.
And Steve.
Aye.
Okay. And finally, the last item for business items, adoption of resolution of approval for wetland application W24-04, 273 Lakeview Avenue, Kensico Cemetery habitat restoration and the development of a recreational pathway for cemetery visitors within an approximate 5-acre portion of the Kensico Cemetery parcel, R20 zone, Kensico Cemetery. Okay, any questions or comments on the Kensico Cemetery wetlands application?
Make a motion to approve that resolution?
Motion from JD.
Second.
Oh, John, excuse me.
I'll second it, though.
John and JD. Walter?
Aye.
Jean?
Aye.
John?
Aye.
Eileen?
Aye.
JD?
Aye.
Steve?
Aye.
And aye for me. Okay, continue an application, and as a reminder, we stated at the beginning of the meeting, but we'll just state it one more time. Number 1, proposed 790 Hartscrabble Road has been adjourned. So we'll go on to number 2, proposed Bellevue Avenue, lot 79, development of a single-family dwelling with driveway, yard areas, water and sewer, drainage, and retaining walls improvements. Application steep slopes number SS2-14, location vacant parcel Bellevue Avenue, lot 79, section block lot number is 106.18-3-79, zone R10, owner and applicant is Joseph Sciascia, help me with that one, Sciascia, I think I did that okay. Engineer Hildebrand Engineering, PLLC. Do we have someone here tonight for Bellevue Avenue, lot 79? The applicant.
Hi, my name is Philip Grimaldi. I'm the attorney for the applicant. The engineer's running late. I think he said he'd be here by 8. It's 2 minutes to 8, so I guess.
Okay, so we're gonna table this issue for a moment or two.
Okay.
Okay, so we will then go on to item number 3, proposed 423 and 429 Commerce Street, demo existing building, construct new multi...
Hold on a second, he's here.
Oh, okay.
Oh, yeah, the engineer. You want to wait for the engineer?
The engineer's not here.
Okay, we're gonna go to number 3 anyway. So we're number 3, 423 and 429 Commerce Street, demo existing building, construct new multi-use building with 12 proposed dwelling units, 1 office space, 2 commercial, retail spaces, and a rear parking lot with 18 parking spots. Application site plan PSP 25-9, location 423 and 429 Commerce Street, Hawthorne, New York. Section block lot number is 112.5-1-27 and 28. Zone Thornwood Hamlet. Owner 423 Commerce Street LLC, 429 Commerce Street LLC. Applicant architecture is Demosky Architecture. Welcome, Mr. Demosky.
Good evening, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. So at the last meeting, we went over the project, gave the highlights of the project, and we had some comments from Pat and we had some comments from David Smith. We've addressed all the comments that they gave us. We didn't get any responses back yet, so they're probably still in review, but if you'd like, I want to just go over some of the highlights of their comments and how we address them all, if that's okay.
Yep, please.
Okay. So the first thing that came up was the bulk regulations, the height of the building, and some architectural features that we had that are, fall within the criteria of the height requirements. So I'll just go to the elevation. So the front elevation is right here. We are in compliance with all bulk regulations, including the height of the building. Where we fall short is this little piece right here is the elevator tower, and we're 4 feet above the allowable 50 feet. We're at 54 feet. There was a small area of these peaks that are above the above the 40 feet, and they're considered an architectural feature. So the building inspector can overwrite that variance requirement, and he did because they're not habitable spaces. They're 18 inches above the requirement, so it is purview per the code. He's given us a letter, and I think Carolyn has the letter. So really, the only issue that we have with the bulk regulations is the height of the elevator. So we're asking to go to zoning after this meeting if everything else is okay with the board. Just again, highlighting some of the comments that we had. We had parking in the back of the building. We had 18 spots. We had to provide a landscape island. So we removed one parking spot. We got the landscape island. That's addressed. It's on the site plan. It's per the zoning requirements. So that's all addressed.
But does that bring you to 17 spaces?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
But
Still within the requirement of all the parking.
because you're going to have some shared use, I thought that the traffic engineer's letter said that it required 22 parking spaces?
No, not at all.
Okay,
We're over.
The requirement's 17 spaces.
okay.
And when we get done with designing the building, that was a conservative number on our part. We'll probably end up with a couple more parking spots that are extra on top of the 17. But right now, we're presenting 17.
Okay.
In that landscape island, which is right here, there's a requirement to have a shade tree. We've got the shade tree provided. Also, another requirement that we resolved was we had impervious surface all along these parking spots. They don't want, we had a pervious surface. They don't want pervious surface where the cars park because they can take oil and go right through there into the soil. So we changed that to be paved area. And this strip right over here, again, to minimize the impervious area, we introduced a pervious area there. So it's gonna be a little mix, and it's gonna break up the parking lot a little bit, so it's not one big sea of asphalt. Another question that came up was, is there a loading dock in this building? There's no loading dock. There's not any required, so we're not providing any loading dock. Site distances, they just wanted to make sure when we're coming out of here, we meet all the site distance requirements. We do. The engineer has a diagram that proves that out, and again, it's being reviewed by engineering. The sidewalk in front of the building, they asked if it was gonna be redone at the end of the project. It's definitely gonna get redone. That whole area is gonna get redone. It's gonna be like a war zone for a little while. Charging stations. We're not putting any charging stations for electric vehicles. We're providing 3 bike spots per the requirement. We're not having any e-bike charging stations. Again, not required, and we're not volunteering them. Now, let me go to back to the elevation. So, in terms of the requirements of the code for finishes, for building heights, for glass, for transparency, we meet all the requirements. We've already done that, we already proved it out. And a question came up with the railing here for our ramp, our required ADA ramp, and it seemed like there was a lot of it. The ramp actually starts right here, it goes up, and it comes over. And it seemed like there was a lot. How do we deal with that? So we kind of looked at it and we studied the elevations and went back and forth with some ideas. The first floor level that's established right now is a level that we can't bring it down. It is where it is because of the plumbing, the sewer piping in the building and how it drains out. So the first floor elevation is set. So we, by code, by building code, we have to provide handicap accessibility from the front of the building to anybody walking to the site, into the property, and into the building. We have ADA compliance with parking in the back of the building, but the way the code is written, it has to be if somebody was, pretend they were airlifted to the front of the building, dropped on the sidewalk, even if there's not accessibility to the building, if they were airlifted, they have to be able to get to the building. We can't get to the building from, they can't get to the building from the front to the back where we have the ADA compliance, because this is the part of Commerce Street that really slopes down. So we have to have that accessibility from the front of the building. So we provided a ramp, and what we did was to try to hide that ramp and all that railings is we introduced some planters right over here, here, and nothing over here. So these planters kind of respond to the building this way. This one doesn't because, again, this is where our entrance is. So we had to do a little different from there. So we brought materials from the building down to these planters. The width and size are responding to the building, and it does cover up the railings quite a bit.
How does your sewer elevation in the front affect you in the back?
Sorry, John?
Your sewer elevation in the front, right? You're connecting in the front?
No, the sewer is in the back.
It is in the back. Okay.
Yeah, so everything that goes to, I actually wanted the building to be 2 feet lower. We started it with the first floor level to be 2 feet lower, but we were below the sewer level at that point. I kicked and screamed, the engineers wouldn't let me have it, so we had to settle with this. So we're about 3 feet above grade at this point, but that's the lowest we can bring it.
Is there any backlash from the MTA?
Nothing yet. We submit all of our drawings to MTA, sewers, construction accessibility, the cranes, and we haven't heard anything back from them yet. Hopefully we won't hear anything back. Yeah, that was it for the discussion on that ramp. I know it was brought up last time a little bit, so I just wanted to make sure the board heard how we addressed it and what we did to address it. And I think the resolution is probably, I think it looks pretty good. Again, it responds to the building. It does hide the railings a little bit. It does call the entrance out where pedestrians will walk to the ramp and to the stairs up to this plaza level. And I think it'll be nice. We pulled the materials.
It does look good, but what comes to mind is if that's not maintained properly, then you're gonna have just dead bushes right in front of the building.
I'm banking on it to be maintained properly. I live here too.
You're banking on it.
Yeah.
Is this going this is going up to the gas station or all the way across?
No, it doesn't reach the gas station. Gas station is staying there.
Okay, any other questions from board members? Okay, let the record show there's no additional questions or comments. Pat, from a staff perspective.
So we still need, all the engineering reviews haven't been completed yet. I believe Steve, with this submission now, has addressed all those zoning compliance issues. So we now have a fully compliant plan, subject to the interpretation of the building inspector, for those two height issues?
Well, he did interpret on the height of the peaks, and that's, he considered it an architectural feature, but the elevator, we couldn't get around it, so I do have to go to zoning for the elevator.
So did you talk to Sal about the bulkhead?
Um,
So bulkheads are exempt in certain instances.
They're exempt when they're 10 feet away from the property line.
Oh, okay.
We're right at the property line. It's set back from the front property line. It's about 20 feet in, but it's still at the side property line.
So that would require the variance.
Yeah.
Okay.
I do have a question. Are you restoring the sidewalk in front of this whole?
Yeah, that's gonna be part of the project, yep.
Okay, with that being,
So we would not be in a position to go to public hearing on this yet
Right.
until we get all the engineering issues resolved.
Can we send him to the zoning
We
board though?
could, and they could address the zoning issue at the zoning board, yeah.
In terms of the engineering issues, just to let the board know, our engineer's here, he's prepared to talk about it, but he was working closely with Dave on all the items. I know Dave was out on vacation, so he didn't have a chance to review everything, but we feel confident that all those are addressed, so we can at least go to zoning to take care of the height issue.
Yeah, the height issue has no bearing, the engineering issues have no bearing on the height issue.
okay, so then the only question we have tonight is, do we want to make a motion to refer them to the zoning board? Yes or no? All right, that's where we are tonight.
I make that motion.
So motion from John,
Yeah, I second that.
second from JD. Walter?
Aye.
Jean?
Aye.
John?
Aye.
Eileen?
Aye.
JD?
Aye.
And Steve?
Aye.
And an aye from me. Okay, we are done for tonight.
Great, thank you.
Okay, Mr. Grimaldi.
Is your engineer here, Phil?
Stay warm.
Okay, next up is Bellevue Avenue, Lot 79, development of a single-family dwelling with driveway, yard area, water and sewer, drainage and retaining walls improvements. Application Steve Slope SS 2-14. Location vacant parcel Bellevue Avenue, Lot 79. Section block lot number is 106.18-3-79, zone R10. Owner applicants Joseph Schiazia. Did I say that correct? Shasha, I was not even close, but I tried. Okay, engineer Hildebrand Engineer, PLLC. Thank you.
Good evening, members of the board, Mr. Chairman. I had spoken to Mr. Cleary today, and he indicated that he was satisfied, and the town engineer was satisfied that all the issues addressed in the October memo were addressed adequately. So I don't know if there's anything else.
Yeah, the issue of concern was the proximity of the wall to the easement, and that was a concern. It was determined that the wall, the condition of the soil, the subsurface condition would not be affected by the wall, so it has no bearing on the easement. Dave was okay with that.
So is there really nothing else for us to do tonight other than, do we want to schedule a public hearing or not?
Make a motion to schedule a public hearing.
Okay, motion from John,
Second.
second from Eileen. Walter?
Aye.
Jean?
Aye.
John?
Aye.
Eileen?
Aye.
JD?
Aye.
Steve?
Aye.
And I for me. That was quick. Okay.
Please, engineers, Phil.
Yeah.
Okay. All right, so we're moving on to, I'm all thrown off now. Okay, now we're moving, Bradder's, thank you very much.
376 Brad.
So this is a brand-new application, this is under new applications, 376 Bradder's Avenue, renewal of special use permit for gas station convenience store. Application site plan PSP 26-1, location 376 Bradder's Avenue, Hawthorne. Section block lot number is 112.9-1-14, zone Hawthorne Hamlet. Owner New Age Petroleum Company Incorporated, applicant and attorney, excuse me, I just made you an architect. Philip Grimaldi, Esquire.
He's just an engineer.
Good evening, Mr. Chairman and members of the board. Philip Ramon for the applicant. This is just a renewal of a special use permit that was initially granted in 2011. Lasted for 15 years. There's been no changes to the site plan. There were some items that he was selling outside. I think there's firewood and whatnot, and the fire inspector wanted that removed. That will be removed, so I don't know if there's any other issues.
Yeah, and that's one of the beauties of this legislation that's in front of us, because when these applications do come before us, we do clean up the site, but the question becomes, how do we clean it up and make it cleaned up? Stay cleaned up until the next time we come up, because what we want to avoid is every 7 years, Pat? 15 years, every 15 years, we're coming across the same problem where we're having things sold that shouldn't be sold outside of the store and all that, but which we can talk about that at a future point.
Just to remind you, Mr. Chairman, so 15 years ago was the first time we did this, so we're gonna have a whole spate of these coming in.
Yeah,
So we did all the gas stations in town at once, 15 years ago. That's when we really were able to clean things up. And now it's to verify that it's been done, you know, that they've operated in accordance with those approvals.
yeah, the only thing that's a little troublesome is we clean up the site and then 6 months later, we're back to where we were.
Well, you can issue a violation. I mean, if he's violating the terms of the special
Yeah.
use permit, then he's in violation, and you
Okay,
could violate him.
all right,
Yeah, so what you may want to do in this case, so the gas pumps haven't moved, the building hasn't changed, the curb cuts are the same. So the major things with respect to this application have not changed. The day-to-day operation of stuff on the site is not where it's supposed to be. So they can remove that tomorrow. Your choice is, do you wait for them to clean it up before you vote to do this, or do you conditionally approve this subject to?
okay. But that doesn't preclude us from, hold on, don't sell past the sale. That doesn't preclude us from scheduling a public hearing if we feel we're ready for that.
Yeah, again, unless you think the firewood is egregious in one way or another.
Right,
You have some leverage right now to make sure everything is cleaned up by not scheduling a public hearing until he tidies up the site.
He's coming up next week, next Thursday, so, or he could even tell his employees to move it. It's not a big deal.
okay. Okay, let me just hear from the board. Any questions or comments from board members?
Yeah, move the firewood. Don't waste the time for moving. Get it out of, tell them to get
Get
it
out there,
out
go
of.
down there right now.
So let's put it this way, when he comes back, it's gonna come up.
Okay.
So
It should be moved before.
So I would suggest highly that everything is cleaned up and removed prior to the public hearing.
Okay, that's fine. Can we schedule it, because his 15 years runs in April, and I don't want him to miss that.
Well,
But I'll make sure that he's in compliance before then.
I thought, Mr. Chairman, you could schedule it. If it's still there, you don't hold public hearing.
yeah, and we'll still have leverage. Okay, so what is the thought of the board on this? Okay, so
I think you should clean the wood and put them on. If it's not clean, they don't come back.
does that sound like a motion?
That sounds like a motion to me.
Okay, so we have a motion from John,
Second.
second from Jane. Walter,
All right.
Jane,
Aye.
John, Eileen,
Aye.
JD,
Aye.
Steve,
Aye.
and an aye for me. We'll see you when we see you.
Great, thank you.
Okay, and finally, the last one, which is a brand-new application that we have not heard before this board, is 226, 228 Linda Avenue, Cedar Knolls, subdivision of one 126.5 acre parcel into 91 lots, 87 single-family residential lots, 3 conservation open space lots, and 1 lot to continue the school operations. Application subdivision PSD 26-2, location 226-228 Linda Avenue, Hawthorne, section block lot numbers 112.10-4-26, zone R40, owner and applicant, the Jewish Board of Family and Children's Services, engineer architect is JMC Planning Engineer and Landscape Architecture and Land Surveying PLLC, attorneys David Steinmetz and Zarin and Steinmetz. Do we have representation from this?
You ready for us, Mr. Chairman?
Yes, come on up, Mr. Steinmetz.
Good to see you.
Come out on a cold night.
All right. Good to see all of you. David Steinmetz from the law firm of Zarin Steinmetz here this evening, representing the Jewish Board of Family Services and the Cedar Knolls site. Sorry about that. You want me to go backwards, Karen? With me this evening from Cedar Knolls, Lonnie Lieberman, Jonathan Grebo, representing Cedar Knolls, and our project manager and entitlements manager. From our development team, Diego Villarreal and James Karras from JMC Engineering and Planning. You'll also from time to time have one of my colleagues, Jacqueline Cohn, appearing in connection with this application. We're very excited to be here in connection with kicking off on this project. It's sort of a long-awaited project. I think many in the town have known that the Cedar Knolls site has been substantially vacant in terms of a number of the school buildings that have been in operation, and with residential schools and a number of different facilities and programs. But as a threshold and critical, important issue, I want to say at the outset, we are not here tonight in connection with a rezoning. There had been talk, and people in the town and officials in the town have contacted me over the years, and there had been discussion about the possibility of this site coming in and asking for a rezoning. So the one thing that we can take a deep breath, and the good news is we are here tonight in connection with a zoning compliant, as of right, single-family residential subdivision. The site is zoned for what we are here to propose, and we are looking forward to working through the process with your board in connection with it. The site itself is in the town's residential R40 zoning district. It's 126 acres in total size. The development site itself is 73 acres, and the reason for that is there are currently two different school buildings operated by the Hawthorne Cedar Knolls Union Free School District. That school district is going to remain. There are two school buildings that will remain, and the 22 acres associated with that school parcel or with those school buildings would be carved out. And we're going to get to that in a moment. Diego's going to walk you through the proposed subdivision plat. We are proposing a conservation subdivision or a cluster subdivision. Why? We are trying to achieve as much open space as possible on the site. Your code allows for this. We have met briefly with staff and conducted an initial discussion about this. And we're going to walk you through how doing this will allow the site to create adequate buffers, a wonderful green space in a number of different areas. 30 acres of conservation land would be carved out. We are proposing 87 single-family home sites. Diego will walk you through the proposed road network, the lot layout. Most of the lots actually are zoning compliant in terms of size. None of them, I think, drop below 0.6 acres. Some of them are actually larger than an acre, despite the fact that this is a cluster. We're going to do a high-level discussion tonight of the roads, the road connections, some basic utility information, and we're going to share with you how we got to the 87 lot density. As I'm sure you know, under your code, in order to come forward with a cluster or a conservation subdivision, you need to do a conventional subdivision, a standard kind of cookie cutter subdivision first. We did that to analyze and determine what the actual density on the site could be. We achieved 87 conventional lots, and then we took those 87 lots and we have clustered them. From a procedural standpoint, first of all, I thank Mr. Cleary for generating the memo that he did for your board at the outset. We had a chance to review it. It was on the portal. We are hoping that your board would designate your intent to serve as lead agency under the New York State Environmental Quality Review Act, SEQRA. And somewhat out of the ordinary for me, it's rare that I show up on an application, let alone an application of significance, and right out of the box say, I want to go through the full SEQRA process. I want my client to prepare a draft environmental impact statement, a final environmental impact statement, ultimately culminating in a finding statement. Our team knows what we're doing. We know the importance of this site. We know the issues that we have to address. So we are asking that you designate your intent to be lead agency. We are asking for the issuance of a positive declaration. We fully are prepared to generate tea or something like that. Anybody making tea? I didn't order any.
It's a cart.
We are asking for a positive deck so that we can begin the SEQRA process. And in fact, again, somewhat out of the ordinary, together with JMC, our client and our team has assembled a draft scoping outline. So we have already analyzed and, or at least identified, a rather extensive outline of issues that we expect to study, and we hope to have a public scoping session at the earliest possible date. So we have a number of things we have to do together with you on this. Again, no rezoning, as of right, and a cluster. So we actually think this is something that the town can and will be proud of, and we're looking forward to presenting it. So I'm going to hand it off to Diego. We're happy to answer any questions and begin the process together with you.
Thank you, David. We have just a couple of boards for you this evening. Same boards that are being presented on the screen. I just thought it'd be good to put one up here, be able to point to it and show you some of the things that we are going to speak about tonight. As David had indicated, really just going to stay pretty high level with the overall concept and the subdivision plan. A number of the things that even we're going to touch on tonight will be addressed within the DEIS and the environmental studies that are going to be prepared as part of this project, but obviously we wanted to kick it off and just give you a comprehensive overview of the proposed subdivision. Starting with the existing conditions plan, this is, we just felt with the best way to convey what's going on out there today, and then also some of the surrounding uses and the properties that exist around us. The red line highlights the 126 acre property. Columbus Avenue is obviously along the top side of the page there. Property runs in that north-south direction. The main entrance to the existing campus is off of Linda Avenue, right in this area here, where you can see the driveway that comes in, and that driveway provides access to all of the driveways throughout the site, the different parking areas, and the several buildings, most of which are vacant at this point, obviously, with the campus not being functional. So all of the buildings that you see on the property that are within the development area would ultimately be slated to be demolished as part of the project. You see, obviously, the surrounding land uses. You see the Summit Office Park off to the top right-hand side of the southeastern portion of the site. The Rolling Hills neighborhood, which is about, which is also within an R40 zoning district. So you see the 1 acre subdivision, pretty consistent with what would be proposed here off to the northeastern portion of it. And then you see the Hawthorne area, Warren Avenue, Linda, Sherman, Manhattan, all of the parallel streets that run in that grid fashion in the R10 zoning district. So you see really a variety of different types of lots and different residential uses that exist surrounding the property, as well as the new development just to the south, which is very similar to this. I believe that was a clustered subdivision as well, pretty similar to this, where they were developed as about half-acre lots in and around that portion of the property there. Jumping right into it, if we can go to the next plan. This is the proposed subdivision layout. As David had indicated, we are proposing a clustered subdivision. So we are taking the 87 proposed lots and clustering them into very specific portions of the site. As part of this analysis, we looked at the different areas of the site. We started to identify some of the environmental features and some of the environmental constraints that we're going to have to deal with and analyze during the DEIS process. There are some wetlands on the property that exist in a portion of the property here. There's some open space, some wooded areas, some steeply sloped areas on the property as well. All of these things were taken into consideration when we started looking at this subdivision plan. It's not that you can't build in those areas, it's just they're good areas that we could preserve, that we can maintain as open space. So when we looked at this clustered subdivision plan, we really focused majority of the development in and around the Summit property, behind the Caber parcel, and then it wraps in and around where the R40 zoning district is in this area here. You see significant portions of the property that are being maintained as open space. So again, 126 acre property, but we could break it down really into 3 areas. First, the existing school parcel that is going to remain in this area here is about 22 acres in size. So that gets carved out as an individual lot, and that's one of the lots that's in that area there.
Is that school area in the morning, afternoon, they go home?
Yes, that
Like a
is,
regular
it's
school?
my understanding of it, I can, yes, it
not a
is.
residential.
It's not any residential use, it is the day school portion of the property that operated there.
Okay.
And that's in these two buildings. These are the newer buildings. I know, I'm sure some of you have been on the property, I'm sure we'll probably get a site walk at some portion as well. You'll see these are the newer buildings that were constructed more recently. The balance of the buildings on the property are older. A lot of them are in disrepair at this point, so all of those will be slated to be demolished. But these two new buildings, I believe they're the newest buildings on the campus. When we get into the cluster and the balance of the property itself, the 87 single-family homes would be located on about 73 of the total acres of the property. The balance of that, which is about 30 acres, would be preserved as open space. So where we look at those 87 lots, about 30%, a little bit more than 30% of it could be preserved as open space when we apply those cluster provisions to the property itself. So when we cluster it, it's very similar to what you would see with a conventional layout, but we obviously are able to just squeeze down the lot areas a little bit more. David alluded to it before. None of the lots are less than about a half acre. You'll see all of them on the plan about 20,000 square feet. Most of them are more than that. Some of them exceed an acre when you have areas with deep backyards and deep lots. Those still exceed an acre, but they're probably a little bit more narrow than what would be permitted under the R40 zoning district. Again, the idea of the cluster and the intention of the cluster is to preserve as much of the land as open space, and we're really able to accomplish that, especially in an A area around the wetlands, and then this steep sloped area and these, this wooded area and this open space that exists between the two schools. There's a lot of opportunity there to maintain that as open space. When we looked at the clustered subdivision too, we really looked at the R20 zoning district for setback purposes, just to maintain consistency and continuity throughout. Everything generally exceeds what would be required under the R20 zoning district. Again, it's just for consistency and continuity purposes. We didn't want one lot very small, one lot a little bit bigger. It's really just to maintain a good continuous continuity of the homes throughout the property itself. Access on this development plan as being proposed, the existing access off of Linda Avenue to the school would be maintained. That would serve as the existing access as it does today, and that would serve the existing schools that are slated to remain. For access to the subdivision itself, we're utilizing Gold Street, which has a direct connection. That driveway exists there today. Gold Street is really a driveway that provides access. I believe it's one or two homes right in that area over there, and that access comes out to Warren Avenue and then goes out to Stevens. That's one of the most proximate. We also are proposing an interconnect to Westerly Lane South in this area here. So that area connects in, and that provides connectivity and continuity from Warren Avenue to Westerly Lane.
Okay.
Okay? Just pausing for a second in case there were any quick questions there. One thing you will see on the plan as well, something that's shown in that upper right-hand corner or the southeastern portion of the site, the way the site has been designed, it could accommodate an access to Summit Lake Drive, if that does ultimately come to fruition in the future. But right now, it's being designed to be able to accommodate it, but it's not proposed as part of the subdivision at this moment. Sticking with this plan just for one more second before I go to the conventional, just because I thought it's important to show the comparison between the two. As David had indicated before, we are coming in, we provided a draft scoping document for the DEIS, which is essentially the table of contents that we would utilize for all the studies that would be included in that document that we go through. And that will cover a litany of things from geotechnical work, steep slopes, earthwork, cuts and fills, how the layout would work, utility connection points, where the sewer and water is going to be connected to. So all of those technical things, wetland delineations on the property. When we get into the springtime, we'll formalize our wetland delineations, all of which will be included in that DEIS document that would ultimately be submitted to this board for its review. Traffic will be part of that as well. We'll look at those individual access points, and we're going to provide a detailed traffic analysis that looks at that, where those connection points are. Obviously, we know traffic will be a topic of concern and question throughout this process, so we'll look at it. We have an extensive list of intersections that we would look at, both in proximity to the property, but in the surrounding area, just to look at the different traffic patterns and how this development would be incorporated into the different traffic areas surrounding this property. In addition to that, it would look at all of the other things, municipal services, including school children, all of which we would know will be part of that analysis. So all of that will be incorporated. I don't have answers for you for every one of those topics tonight. The idea, again, was to really focus on the overall conceptual plan, give you an idea on how it's going to get laid out, and then we'll follow up with those additional studies as we go through this process. But again, it was important for us to take this development plan far enough to come before this board with a plan that we were confident with. Grading opportunities, how this site gets graded out. The site itself is generally a little bit of a plateau. So when you come up here, it's really pretty level, especially in the central portion of the property. It does have areas that slope off to the east and to the west, depending on where you are on the property. And those are the areas that we really focused on for open space and preservation. So when we look at the different areas on where the property is being developed right now, it's a limited amount of earthwork, it's a limited amount of grading. The topography really is conducive to this type of layout, how the houses are laid out, and where the roadway is. It's very intentional the way we're terminating in a cul-de-sac right in this area before the slope tries to drop off in this area here. The way it curves up intersects Westerly Lane with the topography connection. There was a grading plan and a schematic grading plan that we also included in our preliminary submission. So how this works, the topography, the connections, and the separation distances to the adjacent properties all were considered when we looked at this layout as well. And that really transitions us to...
Excuse me,
I have
before
one
you
question
put that
before
one
we
up.
move on.
Sure. Yeah. I'll come back to this. I'm gonna finish with this one.
Where's the construction entrance proposed?
To be determined. I don't want to commit to anything at this point. It's really something that we're going to have to look at as part of the environmental review process, how we get access to and from the site. Because obviously, we all know the way a subdivision gets constructed. Roadways will get constructed, but house construction will continue. They might sell a lot, somebody might move in. It's an active construction area. It's part of a subdivision. So that is something that we would look at in the EIS. So for me to say where the exact construction entrance, just a little bit premature. So it's certainly something we'll take a look at and make sure we consider. I think.
Where's your storm water basin on that drawing?
So it's in a couple of different areas. So one of the things that we started looking at, obviously, is a comparison between existing and proposed conditions. There is a significant amount of impervious area on the property between the parking areas, the buildings, the driveways that exist out there right now. So even with the plan as it is, with the new roadway that's going to be constructed, these homes that are being proposed, we even went as far as analyzing, not that every house on this property will have a pool, but we wanted to look at a worst case scenario that if a homeowner wanted to put a pool on the property, they had an opportunity to do so. So we are looking at what we feel is a fully developed house, driveway, pool area, things like that. And we still only have a very slight increase in impervious area on the property. Regardless, there would be a comprehensive stormwater pollution prevention plan that would be included in the DEIS. We haven't designed it yet, but what we did is start to allocate areas for it to make sure that we had areas incorporated into the design. So that southeastern corner there adjacent to Summit Lake Drive, we allocated a separate stormwater lot, and it's pretty much opposite. You can see Toll Brothers when they developed this, where their stormwater basin was located. It's kind of in that similar area because that's the low point on the property on where it goes. There's a significant area here where the existing, this wetland, it's not, from my recollection and my research and what we've seen, this I believe was a stormwater basin that was constructed at some point on the property that obviously over time
Are
has
we
turned into
gonna
a wetland.
leverage a wetland consultant?
We're gonna leverage multiple consultants.
Yeah.
This effort.
Okay.
And we expect that. We'll have, as part of the DEIS, a wetland delineation. We will have our own wetland consultant. In the table of contents that was provided, you'll see there's a whole section that was dedicated to that as well. So to answer your question, long-winded answer to your question, there's been multiple areas that basically have been identified on the property that we feel are suitable for stormwater purposes. And we'd go through that process of testing and preparing a full stormwater pollution prevention plan as part of the submission.
Because I did read in one of your documents that the overflow is going to go on adjacent property.
Depends, yeah. So there's a couple of overflows that exist on the property. You know, just off the top of my head, there's an outfall into this Summit undeveloped parcel here. There's existing piping that discharges right into that direction. There's another outfall in this lot here that comes through. There's a water course that goes between the two homes before it enters municipal infrastructure. All of that will be looked at as part of that analysis. We have obligations under New York State DEC's regulations as well as the town regulations. We can't increase stormwater runoff from the subject property. That's threshold number one. Above and beyond that, there's water quality and water quantity standards, all of which that we have to meet. But again, threshold number one, we cannot increase what's coming off the property now. As part of this analysis, we'll look at those connection points and we'll identify those best locations. Obviously, we don't want to increase water going, maybe under existing conditions, there's a water course that's going towards somebody's backyard right now. Obviously, that wouldn't be a suitable discharge point for us. We would want to look at all of those things as part of the process and make sure that we're connecting to municipal infrastructure as we go through this. We had an opportunity, we've met with your engineer, Mr. Smith. We've gone through a couple of these scenarios. We've already started looking at water and sewer capacity, all of which again will be compiled and summarized in the EIS.
And I'm sure you realize that that whole mountain now of Warren, Linda, Sherman, all go down to Brady Avenue.
Yes.
And it's overwhelmed.
Mm-hmm.
So
Yeah.
that route really needs to be looked at, or it could be upgraded.
Yeah, there could be an opportunity or it could be a combination of the two. It's really ultimately at the end of the day, where is it going now and what can we do to improve some of those conditions that exist out there. So 100%. So finally, this last board, spend a couple of minutes on this as well. Understanding the subdivision process and the thresholds that we have to meet as part of this process, we didn't dive right into the conservation plan and see where everything worked. The first step from our standpoint was really coming up with the conventional subdivision plan, just to identify that dwelling count, how many homes could be constructed on this property, still respecting those different environmental constraints that we had started speaking about. What you'll see is this plan is very consistent from a roadway connection standpoint. We still connect westerly, we still connect to Gold. We're not trying to move driveways around and do things differently. We still preserve the wetlands on the property, although there's not as much open space that's being preserved. The lot in between the two schools would be partially developed as part of that. And then we look at, you know, still have a stormwater basin on the southeastern corner of the property as well. This plan, again, respects a lot of those environmental constraints, doesn't come down too far into this area here, but still demonstrates that under the conventional subdivision layout, you can easily, and I think even with this plan here, maybe we could add one more depending how it ends up working out, you could develop 87 conventional lots on this property. To take that one step further, we even provided the board a preliminary grading plan of this. We wanted to make sure we showed everybody how this plan works, how does it work with the existing topography on the property. We're not fighting grades in a lot of different areas. We're not increasing our earthwork to a certain point. It really works with the same topographies, the same landscape, and respects a lot of those same constraints that are on the property now. The difference really is, again, in my opinion, when you look at this as compared to this, it's the preservation of the open space. This plan, if I have the numbers right, it's about 100 acres on the conventional plan would be dedicated to the 87 lots, as opposed to this plan, 30 acres would be able to be preserved as open space. So you still end up with that same unit count in either condition, you just obviously end up with a significant amount of open space that gets preserved. Reducing impervious areas, roadways, driveways, etc. All the things that we look to do under cluster provisions.
Quick question to my friends over here, how soon can we make some of this available online to the public?
It already is.
It is already online, okay. Okay, that's important, because I know there's people here tonight, so this is online, folks, if you want to take a look at it. So,
So, yeah, and we'll continue, as we always do, any information we provide, I know it gets posted. You know, like as David had indicated, we're at the beginning of the process. We're gonna go through a DEIS. There'll be a substantial environmental document that gets submitted as part of this application, all of which would be available, and I know there's gonna be, obviously, some hearings first associated with the scope.
yeah, and the question before us tonight is not the details of the entire application. The question that we have before us tonight, just so the public understands, is does this board want to be designated as a lead agency? So what does that mean? There's a comprehensive process that the applicant would need to go through to complete an environmental impact study, which would be appropriate for this board to think about doing that. They have a long way to go. A lot of questions need to be addressed. I have a bunch of questions, and I'm sure everybody else has some questions, but I'm not going to bother asking them because I think many of them will be addressed in the EIS itself. So that's the question before the board. Any other questions or comments from board members?
I do. One is currently, that property, is it on a tax map? That currently, right now, Cedar Knolls,
Yep. I
they've been
believe
paying
it's
taxes to the
6,000.
town? What's the difference here, the rate? I mean,
So John, I think that's a terrific question. The site became a school property by an act of the state legislature back in, I think, 1939. To the best of my knowledge, it has been off your tax rolls literally for the last century. Obviously, we are proposing to carve out the school parcels that Diego and I have talked about. Those would remain on their own lot and I presume would remain tax exempt because they're school buildings. Everything else would be restored to the tax rolls, and we are talking about fee simple, single-family homes. So, you know, you can take a look just to our south and what happened at the Toll Brothers project there and get a sense. I think we're looking at similar-sized homes. Many of our lots are actually even larger than that. So, yes, it would. We will, in our, if you read our scoping outline, there is a rather comprehensive section on fiscal impact, both costs to the town and revenue generated from the project to offset those costs.
Well,
So,
as you know, this town has been, I don't know the word to use, but impacted with multiple large areas of land that do not pay taxes here.
Yes.
Between cemeteries and schools and all that, so it's just a note I wanted to make on my end. The other thing is, and I didn't want to get too much into it because I know where Jim is going with it, but one of the pressures of the people, residents that's gonna come up, and like I said, it's not time to talk about, we're here to take the lead agency, and I get it, but something to think about is, obviously, the access to that school, if it's gonna stay the same for the school, it is what it is, but the access to the development, one is westerly, is gonna be very tough, I can tell you that now, because there's one way in and one way out for that whole mountain going down. So, that's a problem, and if somehow or another they can figure out to get that off Gold Street and go out through that land, just something to think about. Not that I want to get into it right now, but just keep it in the back.
we hear you loud and clear. We are very well aware that access to the site for homeowners, for first responders, and providing better access in the town, through the town, critical issues, it'll all be analyzed in the traffic section.
Gotcha.
Okay, so I know,
If I could just give you
Yep.
an overview of the process where we are. So if you chose to designate your intent to be lead agency this evening, that means you're in charge of this review. There would be a 30-day circulation period. After that 30-day circulation period, based on the applicant's commitment, you would adopt what's called a positive declaration that requires the applicant to prepare the environmental impact statement.
yeah,
The first step in that is what you've heard the applicant refer to as a scoping document. That's a public document that the folks in the room would have an opportunity to review and comment on what needs to be studied, what shouldn't be studied, and so forth. Importantly, one of the benefits of the environmental impact statement is an analysis of alternatives. So that section of the EIS, for example, would require them to study alternative access and so forth. So that's one of the significant benefits of the environmental impact statement, aside from the in-depth analysis of the environmental issues. It's the assessment of alternatives. So that first step, which would happen 30 days plus from now, is the review of the scoping document. That scoping document's online, so I encourage the folks in the room to start looking at that document and providing comment. We will have what's called a public scoping session, which is a noticed public hearing in this room, where the public will have an opportunity to come to you and tell you what they should be, what you should be.
Yeah, and I know there's members of the public here tonight that are here for this, obviously, because it's the last application, so I'm assuming you're here for this application. So, though it's not a public hearing, we do rely on the public input. I don't live in that part of town. I don't know everything going on over there. I live in another part of town. We have our own issues in that part of town. But it doesn't preclude you, if you see substantive thought, or you have substantive thoughts that are concrete and not rooted in emotion, more rooted in facts, that you feel the board should consider, please email them to Caroline. We'll be dealing with this application for some time. But if you have thoughts today or the next coming weeks, please send those thoughts in. But, you know, simply saying you don't want it, we can't do much with it. If you have something that's more concrete and substantive, that may be something we want to consider at the board. Okay.
And one last thing, Jim.
Yep.
So, is there going to be some type of study regarding the impact of the schools?
So
Mount Pleasant
they've
schools?
already committed to that. We would require them to do that. They've acknowledged that already. So we'll make sure, that the scoping documents, we'll make sure the way they study those issues are done to the standards that we require. And then once they submit that information, we then have our own consultants reviewing that information to verify the veracity of all that information. So yes, John, absolutely, and that's one of the particular issues we raised with the applicants early on, which is that's a big issue.
John, you know, because we went through it together, at least some of you were on the board during the Baker subdivision, during a comprehensive environmental review and a DEIS and an FEIS. We did a comprehensive school district analysis, and that will be done here. We know that, we're prepared to do that.
Okay.
I want to kind of conclude sort of the way I started, which is the good news is we're here with a zoning compliant as of right application. Why do I say that? Some of you may know that I've been involved representing the property for a number of years. I was representing the applicant when they were just the property owner, and there was a rather significant meeting here at Town Hall probably 8-10 years ago. Then State Senator Terrence Murphy attended. Shortly after that meeting, I got a call from the supervisor telling me that it would be terrific if certain aspects of the residential school buildings could be curtailed, and if certain aspects of the site could be abandoned and ultimately redeveloped in some other fashion that would be more conducive to the community and consistent with the surrounding area. It has taken quite a while to get to tonight. For me, this is a significant night because I've looked at a lot of different iterations of this property being redeveloped, many of which developers came along and wanted to rezone this and do something very different on this property than what we are presenting to you tonight. So to me, the good news for your board, for the community, for staff, is that we have what your zoning calls for on this property. And we look forward to processing that, demonstrating that while there are issues that have to be analyzed, we believe we can mitigate those potential significant impacts and mitigate them appropriately. That's our job, that's our challenge, that's what we will be doing together. So we look forward to working with your board, we look forward to working with the community. I know Mr. Cavy's here, I look forward to working with Steve. Tonight's night one, we got a road ahead of us, but we look forward to it, and we thank you for your time tonight. We would ask procedurally, Mr. Chairman, that you designate your intent to serve as lead agency so the process can formally begin.
Okay, thank you. I know Mr. Stephen Cavey is here, and I'm going to presume he hasn't had a tremendous amount of material to dig into yet, but if you'd like to address the board at this point, feel free to come up.
I'm gonna start the clock, Steve.
All right, and just so the public knows, Stephen Cavey is the chairman of the CAC, and there's other members of the CAC, but he represents a lot of the environmental thoughts and concerns that are addressed through the town. So
Thank you for the
there's tremendous work for the
introduction.
town.
So I'll introduce myself again, Stephen Cabby, Conservation Advisory Council Chair. Just a couple quick things here. One is, I did see in the application, in the site plan, that there are some lots that appear to encroach within the 100-foot buffer. And it's been our experience that even though the buffer may be designated and the homeowners may be instructed not to do anything with that area, I think that's probably something that needs to be looked at more closely, and those lots are problematic. The other thing that struck me was that there's this open space above the site, and there's then this large expanse of homes, and then there is the possibility of some conservation, well, let me call it green space. I wouldn't actually go so far as to call this conservation land, and that's because there's no connectivity between that and the larger undeveloped parcel. So there's something about that that I think might be useful to consider, how there might be an opportunity to create some connectivity and offer habitat corridors if that's in the realm of how the applicant wants to proceed. That's, for now, that's really all that I really want to speak about, and I'll take a look at the scoping document. There are obviously many other issues that we'll be talking about, but insofar as conservation, we'd like to see the best way in which any open space is used in a way to create habitat and connectivity with any other larger parcels or other habitat areas. The neighbors, I'm sure, have many other concerns. Our focus is only on the environmental impacts at this point. Thank you.
Thank you. And to the community, again, I'll just say one more time, please send your thoughts, comments, questions into town staff. We can learn from you. Like I said, I don't live in that part of town, but I do live in town. So if you have salient thoughts that will help us understand the community or the area, I know one of the big conversations is water mitigation measures, which I have experienced that myself on my side of town. So express those through writing at this point. At some point, we will have a public hearing which the public can address us, and we'll continue to have a robust conversation in the coming months. So with that being said, the big question before us tonight, which is not a huge question, but it's a question, do we want to designate ourselves as lead agent? And that I'm going to turn over to the board to see what their thoughts were on that.
I would make a motion that we declare our intent to serve as lead agency for the environmental review.
Motion from Eileen.
Second.
Second from John. Walter.
Aye.
Jane.
Aye.
John.
Aye.
Eileen.
Aye.
JD.
Aye.
Steve.
Aye.
And I for me. Thank you very much. Stay warm.
We'll see you soon.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Have a good night. Thank you.
Steve.